All right, welcome everybody. And as you can tell by the title, we are finally going to join what millions of channels do, and that's rant about The Last Jedi. 7 years? Is it 7 years now? 6 years?
5?
5?
The article said 5 years. The
Is it 5
articles
years
that
now?
you made me read before we jumped onto this.
Well, I'm going to crack a little something because the tool that I am, when I asked you to join this call with me, cheers, I completely forgot it was a Sunday night football kickoff. So I'm trying to follow the Rams-Bills game.
Crap.
Yeah, I got all my bets on the go right now.
What's the score of the game? Why am I watching Star Wars in the background? The Bills game is on.
10-0.
Buffalo?
Buffalo.
Woo!
I was talking about with my buddies today. I think we saw like the whole, he's a huge Bills fan, and I think the whole NFL panel, the show he watched, they did their Super Bowl picks.
Yeah.
Every single one has Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie.
That's normally a bad omen when everybody agrees on one team.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I was at a corporate golf tournament, so I'm having a beverage, but I can promise you it is not my first of the day. And I legitimately, food time.
Oh, look at you.
I legitimately forgot that there was right. Oh, I can have a napkin?
No.
Oh, all right. I totally forgot that it was opening kickoff. Wow, I'm just a garbage Bills fan. All right, so here we are. We are.
All I gotta say,
like always, not necessarily.
Why are you on here?
First to the party.
I do have the Bills game on right beside me right here. You guys can't see it, but I am following it, and it's going to groove into halftime here, and then this will wrap up, and then I got my couch for the third quarter.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Is it weird? Like, I thought it'd be cool to play The Last Jedi behind us, but I just might switch it to would it be weird if we were talking about Star Wars drinking, but watching the Bills game in the background? Is that strange?
Yeah, maybe put the Bills game on so I could see the score.
Yeah, dude, I'm happy to. I'll have to leave the camera for 2 seconds, but we can make that happen.
Before you unsubscribe, I just want to say, if you do you gamble? Because if you do, I got the bets for you. I've already cashed Gabe Davis touchdown on fire. God. All right. So Ged.
Yeah.
I haven't really ever discussed The Last Jedi or the sequel trilogy that much on my channel. If you've been following since the very beginning, we talked about it because obviously the movies were being kind of released. But, every time I've had that inkling to go on and talk, say I do an edit and, I include footage from the sequel trilogy, the comments, man, it's just, I'm not even doing anything in the sequel trilogy. I'm like, oh, I just need a shot of Kylo Ren for something. And it's just like the venom people got for this movie. And it's quite the thing it has turned into. And, I think you're a good person to bounce this conversation off of, because I feel I fit the mold of like, diehard Star Wars fan. I don't read all the books, but I keep up with the books. I keep up with the news. Like, I'm on top of, the so-called pulse. Like, I'm really involved.
Yep.
Sort of thing. Play all the games, yada, yada, yada. You love Star Wars, but you're more so, give me my movie, give me my TV series.
I'm a film guy. 100%.
You're in and out, and you're not, obsessing over every single small detail. So saying that,
I look at them very cinematically.
Yeah. So watching The Force Awakens, I was actually, I came out of that theater disappointed. And I know The Force Awakens out of the sequel trilogy is the one I think a lot of people gravitate to as their favorite. And I believe it's because I amped that up so much in my brain. Like, I spent, from Revenge of the Sith all the way, well, even probably still Revenge of the Jedi or Return of the Jedi, right? All the way up here, thinking about what happened next, reading the Thrawn trilogy, reading the X-Wing novels. Like, in my mind, I had been told stories. You kind of imagine things yourself. You have a certain expectation of what you want to happen. And then, when the trailer comes out, there's only so much you can glean from the trailer. And now in hindsight, I could tell now, if I took off my rose-colored glasses, I could tell the movie wasn't ever going to go the way I originally thought. But I was hyped, man. Like, I watched that trailer like probably 30 times and was hella disappointed walking out of the theater. I literally walked out of that theater. I turned to my brother and said, man, I didn't like it.
Okay, but you've basically summed up the biggest gap in the Star Wars universe for all fans. It's not that The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker was a good or bad movie. The problem with Star Wars in general is that nobody can be an impartial Star Wars fan. Like, I follow the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I follow the DC Cinematic Universe pretty closely, and the big difference between Star Wars and all of those others is you can be a casual Marvel watcher, you can be a casual DC watcher. Like, you can watch a movie and be like, Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, oh, that was cool. You can watch a Doctor Strange and enjoy it for the movie that it was. You can watch a Guardians of the Galaxy and enjoy it for the movie it was. There is no such thing, even myself as like a cinematic viewer of Star Wars, there's no such thing as an impartial Star Wars fan. And it's very important that I think that we hammer on this point tonight, because obviously you and I think, sit very differently on these movies. But it's not the one's right or wrong, but you just hit it on the head. It did not go the way that I wanted it to.
And that was Luke's comment in the show.
Yeah.
And it is a great point. And if you use Marvel, for example, I didn't read any Marvel comics growing up. I'm a casual Marvel fan. I will go to the theater and watch it. I'm one and done with it. And same thing. I'm like, hey, that was fun. That was a good movie. Star Wars, every single movie that comes out or every single idea, I've already written that movie in my head. Like, I have an expectation of what better happen, what I want to see.
Yep.
And if every fan thinks like that, no wonder everyone gets fucking pissed off and never ever gets what they want, because you can never just sit back and enjoy. You can't just, enjoy someone else's interpretation of what the story is. And again, regardless of, you said too, regardless of if the movie is fundamentally good or bad, it's, like The Last Jedi could critically be the best movie ever made. But if it didn't go the way people imagined it should, they might never ever enjoy it.
And you know what a great example of that is? The Mandalorian, a character that was only myth, people wanted to know more about, but had no idea the backstory on. The Mandalorian virtually could save the Star Wars universe. And the reason why it could save the Star Wars universe is not that it was made exponentially better than any other Star Wars property, although you and I would agree it was phenomenal. Yeah. It's because nobody went into episode 1, season 1 and be like, you know what I want to see happen?
Yeah.
Never. They were like, well, this looks fucking cool. I want to watch some more of this.
And that's the impossible task. Again, Disney, JJ, Rian, the whole way the sequels were managed. We don't need to rehash that part. Everyone knows they shouldn't have passed the baton and not have an overarching theme. We get it. Yep. But it is also, it's almost the impossible task to tell a story using everyone's childhood heroes and tell a compelling story and make it so that everybody loves it.
I agree. It's impossible.
For example, I could tell you what I would have did for those movies, and I think that might be the best thing in the world. But a ton of other people might be like, is this guy on crack? Like, what's he talking about? So getting to The Last Jedi, right? I recognize that right away from The Force Awakens. I ruined the movie for myself. Regardless of if it was good or not, I ruined it. So The Last Jedi was the first movie I didn't watch one teaser, one trailer, didn't accidentally stumble on any, leaks, anything like that. I went in as clean can be.
Raw.
And I came out of The Last Jedi and I said, you know what? I thought that was good. And then
you saw the online crazy.
Yeah, and then I had some minor complaints. When I first walked out, I think my 3 biggest complaints, 2 or 3, was when Luke uses the projection at the end that he never had a green lightsaber, I hated that he was using the blue lightsaber. Like, how does Kylo not realize that that saber just blew up on the Star Destroyer? Like, it's not this, like, that part drove me nuts. And again, that's a minor nitpick. It's literally the color of a lightsaber, right? And the other one that I was,
but color does have a lot of symbolism, right? So
yeah. And like you did, and like it's not like they forgot he uses green. In the flashbacks where he goes to, you know, kill young Ben Solo, he ignites the green saber. So like, you know, it's not like they were completely dense. And the other thing that I said that bugged me was they teased with Rey looking over the cliff edge, and you see Luke's X-wing sitting there in the water. I thought for sure for the end scene he was going to hop in that X-wing and he was going to come swoop down, take out some ties or that big plasma battering ram, and then hop out and kick some ass, which he didn't do. But you know, when I saw that, I immediately, again, mid-movie, I started writing a narrative on what I wanted to see. It didn't happen, but you know, I was okay with it. But after I let that first viewing, remember I said I came out, said it was good. I let that first viewing marinate for a week, talked about it with some buddies, and I slowly went to the dark side. I was like, man, this movie sucked. Can't believe they did that. I can't believe they have the movie's basically a hour-long slow chase through space. Like, how like dumb and unoriginal. And like I went down to the darkness, but then you know what? When you got down to that darkness, lots of people are really dark down there.
Oh yeah.
And
big time.
you know, sometimes I see when I see takes that are like really out there and someone arguing about something that seems so stupid, it's like, why are you getting mad at that? It starts pushing me back in the other direction as almost like a defender now. So again, I think we said we're 5 years. I'm now this is my firm take on The Last Jedi. For me, it's the best of the sequel trilogy, but it's still, I don't even know. I don't have it above anything in the original trilogy, and I don't know if I have it above anything in the prequels. I might have it somewhere on par with maybe Attack of the Clones, Phantom Menace, like in that area. But to me, it's a fine movie. It's not terrible and it's not great. And that's kind of the theme for me. Like, it had the potential to be awesome, but then it has a moment that takes you right back the other way. And like I could go on and on about all these roller coaster moments. It's like, yes, awesome. And then, oh, why'd you do that? And then it kind of does this for me. Like, it just, for me personally, like, you know, sitting back, like I said, it's a fine movie. I think it missed the mark on a couple spots, but I think some of the areas that people really have issues with, I don't really care.
I think it's a great Star Wars story.
Yeah.
Period. When I was reading the articles that you sent me, the one thing that kept coming back was the fact that there was no rewrites. Same guy wrote it, same guy directed it. It felt smooth, even though Hamill necessarily didn't love the direction the character was going. He understood the vision of Johnson, and he played that part to the best that he could. I actually loved where the character went. I loved that it was different. I loved that he was broken. I loved that there was no happily ever after Return of the Jedi, because, you know, obviously there's a vast majority of Star Wars fans that, you know, want to see the glory of Luke Skywalker continue into these sequels. And I love that it went to a dark place. I love that he hid on an island that was the epicenter of both the light and the dark, which Rey does a beautiful job going through in that movie. Cinematically, it was beautifully well done. I loved the overarching slow chase scene that you hate, because it had nothing to do with the story. Cinematically, it was just there as an overarching goal. The character development between Finn and, I apologize, what's her name, as they're running around Canto Bight, Rose.
Yeah.
I wish they'd have taken that further. There's obviously a lot of controversy there in terms of, you know, her getting snubbed for the Lost One, and, you know, her not wanting to be part of social media, so she might have got cut out a little bit. Like, I loved that character development. I loved seeing that there wasn't black and white, that there wasn't good and evil. I think that if the Last Skywalker taught us anything, is that there was no such thing as strictly the light and strictly the dark. You know, they get on that stolen ship in Canto Bight, and they're going through the different things that the person who owns that ship did. And there he is building ships for the bad guy. And oh, look, there he is building a ship for the rebellion.
Yeah.
And he makes comments like, they get you today, you get them tomorrow. I think what that movie did a really good job of is blurring the lines between the idea of good and evil. And I think that was an overarching part of the story. Take away all the fandom, take away the expectations. I think if these three movies taught us anything, is that it stripped away the idea of black and white. So cinematically, I loved it. But I do understand that from a super fan Star Wars aspect, that people had a lot of opinions on it.
Yeah. And like you started with the Luke comment, right? Luke's probably the most divisive thing. And you know, I actually don't really have an issue with Luke's story arc. My issue, like I alluded to earlier, was how Luke executed, like just what he did at the end, not necessarily his character decisions. I wish, you know, instead of using the force projection and all that, I just wish he showed up in person. Like that's my only thing. Like I can buy.
But is that worth griping about?
No, it's not. But that's
No.
If I have to gripe about something about the Luke thing, that was mine. But like the whole thing of him being, you know, exiled, so to speak. Like I know people like it's out of character. Luke's a hero, yada yada yada. But like people change, man. Like it's been 30 years since we last saw him, hero Luke. Like you don't know what happens, and he literally, you know, saw his, you know, he literally trained Ben from a small child, and he literally failed. Like he spent his whole life learning the Force to restart the Order, and his most prized pupil, he failed. So I could see, like, I get, like, it's obviously not the way I would have went with the character, but I think it's an interesting take. And you know, Luke did what Obi-Wan and Yoda both did. You know, he went into exile. Like that was the one thing his masters did, and he more or less copied what they did. He turned himself off because he thought he'd be more of a threat than not. And he still gets his hero moment at the end. Like again, you know, I still don't know how I feel about the force projection part of it, but hey, it's cool. It was a new force power. It's something different. And like just the one thing I want to mention about Luke, though, I thought this, and even though Mark Hamill obviously had his issues, I thought this was actually one of the better acted movies by Mark.
Yeah.
I really
100%
enjoyed his actual performance. You know, regardless what you think about the actual character, I thought Mark did a good job.
Yeah, and these force projections started back in The Force Awakens. Rey grabs that saber and takes her down this crazy, you know, psychosis trip, right?
Oh, her, yeah.
I mean, is it the way I would have done it? No, of course not. But I could say that about a million different movies. But I think there's a very fine line between saying this is not how I would have written a story and going on an absolute tirade the way people are. Like it was a well done movie. I agree that the acting was great. I know you don't love the force projection, but I love the banter between him and Leia at the end. I loved the reconnection. If I had one small gripe, it would be the sparkly dogs. But I do understand that they were needed for the story, right? Because
I have
Rey makes a joke about moving rocks.
Yeah.
Like
lots of my gripes are, once I sit back and zoom out, they're all small. Like again, like I said, the Luke character was, I think, most people's biggest one, and that one I'm not as bad. I'm not as, you know, I'm not there with a lot of the haters, but like the chase, like it's basically just a long chase, and I think that story narrative I didn't necessarily love. And you know what? As I was rewatching it last 2 days ago, because we said we are going to rewatch it, you know what it kind of reminded me of? The chase. And like this part, you know, is very well done. I wish maybe, you know, Ryan would have ripped off some more of these ideas. It just clicked for me. It really reminds me of the opening of Battlestar Galactica.
God, yeah.
So you know the episode 33 minutes, and like every time they jump, the Cylons show up. They gotta jump, and they're about to run out of fuel, and they're trying to figure out how they're tracking them. Like that. That episode is just so well done. Like that's a great way to kick off Battlestar as a season.
And you're not a Battlestar fan at all, so
love it.
But yeah, you're right.
When I saw that,
much,
so it's kind of similar.
Did that actual chase really have to do with the stories that were going on? Like, I agree.
I don't know. It was like
a lot of that movie was basically just a really good Battlestar episode, and I love those.
Yeah, I just wish, I don't know. I felt like Battlestar had more tension in the, jumping. You're watching the clock. Like maybe we lost them this time. You know what I mean? Like they got to they're tracking us through hyperspace immediately. Like there was no you weren't on your edge to see that drama. So I just maybe they could have did that.
You know what? I will give you that. Yeah. I agree. I absolutely agree with you.
So we already, Canto Bite, it is what it is. I think maybe they spent a little bit too much time there, but I also whine on other videos how they never go to new locations and like cities and like luxurious, like not these like slums. And Canto Bite is that. So I feel like I can't be a hypocrite because I beg for that in a lot of my reviews of like Mando and stuff like that. Like, fuck, we're on Tatooine again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I beg for it. So I'm not going to complain about Canto Bite that much. I think the one thing a lot of people have issues with, and let's kind of, discuss this, is Luke trying to kill Ben Solo in his sleep. Now, what are your thoughts on that scene? Does it bother you? Does it seem out of character for Luke? And then I'll give you mine.
Yeah. I think. Sorry, I'm chewing as I answer.
Yeah.
That is the one part of the story that I would very much rewrite. We look at Luke in Return of the Jedi, who had difficulty at the idea of raising a sword to Darth Vader. The idea that this is actually a really good point. This is the one thing that I struggle with. The idea of him raising a sword to the child of his sister, does he feel like he can't reach him, is the one part that to me was a huge miss. There is so many better ways you could have written that part of the story with a rebellion or a desertion that would not have been so extreme, that would have had the same effect. But the idea of raising a sword to Ben Solo, the child of his best friend and his sister, that was the only one, in my opinion, Johnson really swung and missed on.
Yeah, like it would have worked maybe a lot better if he just confronted him like man to man and
got into a battle.
Yeah, and if you had to take him,
confront him,
not necessarily kill him, but disable him. Yeah. But the one thing, the only redeeming thing I've kind of come up with my mind on that particular point is, Kylo Ren destroys the temple and murders everybody that night. You know what I mean? I feel like sometimes people think Luke pushed Kylo to do that. No, the Knights of Ren were there and Kylo, they all slaughtered everybody that night. So I feel like it was already going to go down. Maybe Luke actually sensed some of that. He doesn't necessarily. He says he senses darkness that he's never seen. Blah blah. Maybe he foresaw some of that coming and was like, I need to nip this in the bud before it happens. Again, I think I agree with a lot of people. That's probably out of character for Luke. I think there's other ways he could have stopped Ben than executing him in his sleep. But he even says, it was a moment of weakness. Maybe who knows where Luke is at this point. But that's probably a misfire. Let's be honest.
That would be my only thing from a character perspective that I really had a problem with.
Yeah.
He could have caught Ben doing something. Ben could have, disarmed him. The Knights of Ren could have been there. He could have burned the temple down and slaughtered everybody, and Luke was left alive. I mean, there were much better ways to go about that, but
Yeah. So
that's
let's
one
talk
point.
about about actually some like positives on what the movie actually did well. I actually really, really enjoy the opening space battle. I hate I'm a space battle nerd. Like that's my jam. Give me a good epic X-wing, TIE
Yep.
fighter, or Star Destroyer fight, right?
Yep.
Part of the reasons why Rogue One's my favorite Disney movie of everything. I thought the opening battle was the best of the sequel trilogy. I've talked to you before, like Rise of Skywalker. Sure, it's a big battle going on, but it's all just like it's just random eye candy in the background. There's no coherent story. There's not a lot of actual dog fighting and banter back and forth. It's just Poe every once in a while yelling, "Oh, we're all dying." Like it's just fluff on the screen. It has nothing on what the original trilogy and Rogue One can do. The last Jedi's one, it's like basically just Poe versus. So you get the in cockpit scenes and all that. And you're
cool.
flying with him as he's doing it. So I really enjoy that. I hate the joke that it starts with. The joke bothers me. The holding for General Hux.
Come on, you don't like it?
No, I think it's dumb.
Oh,
it didn't.
So good.
It does not hit for me.
I believe he's tooling with you, sir.
Yeah, it doesn't hit.
So good.
Doesn't hit for me at all. And the whole point of they could have skipped that joke. He could have just flew into the Star Destroyer, hit the booster when the cannons started up, and like got ahead of the cannons. Like,
yep.
But again, maybe that hits for it. Obviously hit for you. Maybe that hits for a lot of other people. That's just me. But
I thought it was fun for what it was.
Yeah. So love that part. And I actually, the cinematography in general, I believe The Last Jedi is probably the most beautiful of the sequel trilogy movies. I thought it's shot very. Which one you got better?
I mean, some of the scenes of the Rise of Skywalker, specifically on the Death Star. I mean, that took me back so many years, lining up the blade with the Death Star and, crawling around it. It was a great tribute to her as a scavenger in the first movie. It was cinematically beautiful over the water. The fight scene after that when they're fighting on the Death Star. I mean, cinematically, I think that's my favorite part of the trilogy. Yeah. However, I don't disagree with you in a lot of ways. I mean, there was a lot of great stuff going on in the Last Jedi.
Yeah, and The Last Jedi, I also, again, this is kind of the theme of how I said like a roller coaster, how it nailed some things, but then it does something to completely ruin it. Like I like the Battle of Crate, but I hate that Rose comes out of nowhere and hits Finn. Like it ruins it for me because Finn literally, everyone's already turned around and head back to base, and Finn's ripping full speed. Somehow Rose has time to turn around, full speed, and then get completely horizontal with him to knock him out of the way. Like, I know it's made up movie and like physics don't matter and stuff like that, but it didn't sit well with me.
I agree.
Made my brain feel dumb.
And I think it was, I guess it wasn't necessarily unneeded. I mean, something had to happen to stop him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like good, cool looking battle. I love the white-red contrast. Like I like how they have to fly these relic speeders out. Like I thought everything worked except for that moment. And then you get like the awkward, kiss thing. And like, it's just, I don't know.
That was not a good kiss.
No, it's just weird.
And was it the writer or director of Rogue One? Was one of the guys in the...
Yeah, Gareth Edwards, Rogue One director. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the guys in the trenches. So good. I love that they do that.
Yeah, and then I guess the other really major scene to talk about is the throne room. I think I don't know. Like I
dare you to chirp the throne room scene.
I think people do chirp it. If anyone watching this right now, I know there's only a handful of yous on, but let me know if you hate the throne room scene.
How can you?
I actually really enjoy it. I think it's one of the stronger parts of the movie, and let me tell you why. It's how it starts off. And again, this is going to feed into my roller coaster analogy as well. When he kills Snoke.
Yep.
When I was in the theater, I remember being like jaw dropped, like, what the fuck just happened?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was like, and like after that movie, I literally sat with my brother and a couple buddies and like for an hour talked about like, is Snoke actually dead? Like, you know how his face was all messed up. This is before obviously, he's a clone and everything. I'm like, maybe he's been resurrected multiple times. Maybe he wanted Kylo to do that because he says, I could see your mind. I know exactly what you're doing. Maybe it was all this elaborate setup. Like we were going through all these motions because we never ever got the full story of Snoke.
No.
So after the fact, when you dwell on it, it might change your opinion. But sitting in the theater and watching that the first time, loved that moment for me. And then I love that they team up. I like the fight dispatching all the guards.
And I love that the guards were good.
Yeah, there's some cool kills. Like when Kylo flicks that guy in that little electric hole and just like the red fluff comes flying out. Like I liked a lot. And then Rey throws a thing at the one curtain and then everything starts lighting on fire. Like I thought, say what you will. I don't know. Maybe people have a problem with the choreography. But for me, it was completely
it's the
fine.
Choreography of a space sword laser fight. Just so we're on the same page here.
And yeah, speaking of laser sword, I hate that Luke calls it a laser sword. I hate that.
Why?
It's a fucking lightsaber. Like, come on.
It's a tribute to the first movie, dum-dum.
Nah, I hate that.
Of course it is. A New Hope. Luke Skywalker calls it a laser sword in front of Obi-Wan Kenobi. It was a callback to A New Hope. He's like, cool, laser sword. And Obi-Wan's like, fuck, put that thing down. You're going to cut your eye out.
Does he say laser sword?
Yeah.
I don't know. All of a sudden, I'm having a mental...
Now you're having a moment? So he says that to reference when he's a kid. And the first time Obi-Wan hands it to him...
he says this is your father's lightsaber. You wanted to have it when you grew up.
I was pretty sure he makes reference like, cool, laser sword or something. I don't know. If anyone's watching, can you please check this? I'm pretty sure Luke Skywalker in A New Hope makes the reference to a laser sword. That's why he says it.
No, that's dumb. I hate it.
I'm gonna have to check Google here.
Again, that's a very, very, very small point. Where was I getting at? Oh, yeah. So I like the battle. But here's the roller coaster thing. You know what I really wish happened at the end of that battle? I wish Rey actually took Kylo's hand. Like, if you want a movie that's not
100%,
you want a movie that's not going to go the way you think, have Rey join Kylo in that moment. If that happens, I wonder what everyone's opinion is on that movie. Because then guess what? Luke actually does have to come back and then deal with the two of them, right? You know what I mean? Like maybe he does get an even bigger hero moment. And then the Holdo maneuver, again, in theater, sounded awesome. And you and me have actually argued about this before, but it kind of broke Star Wars.
In what regard?
Well, there's a new Death Star. Let me just unmanned pilot an X-Wing and jumping into hyperspace at it.
Yeah, but that was a pretty big ship. It wasn't an X-Wing.
Okay, well, let everyone abandon Home 1. Let's just, instead of losing all those people in Return of the Jedi, let's just hyperspace Home 1 into Death Star 2. You know what I mean? Like that, it does that. Like, again, cool in the moment, cool cinematically, but when you step back and think about it, it's like, I don't know if you should have did that.
I mean,
and
that's the problem, something where you need to set aside the Star Wars fandom.
And this goes to back what we talked about at the beginning. The casual viewer probably loves all that shit. And the person who goes home and thinks about every single detail and how it relates back to other movies and what they think and like what's established in canon and can they do that, will sit, watch it, stew about it, and then get pissed off.
Yeah.
And that's probably, and that's where you and me differ. That moment pisses me off, and that moment you love.
To me, from a cinematic perspective, that is among the top 3 or 4 moments in Star Wars, period. Like, I remember being not only in the theater, but like sitting down here in my theater room And every time that part comes on, I'm probably, when we're done this, going to stay on and fast forward it to that part, because it is just such an unbelievably cool audio video moment.
I'll tell you, the sound design, A+.
Oh, visually, A+. Effect, A+.
Cannon breaking,
Cannon
D-.
breaking, yeah, right
F.
there.
And then the other thing too that I hate is, you know, I wish JJ didn't feel, you know, the need to correct every single thing that Rian did, because it makes the Rise of Skywalker that much worse. Being like, oh, holo maneuver, oh, it's a 1 in a million thing, like it'll never work again. Like they waste so much time talking about bullshit.
Yeah.
All right, Swole Yoda, let me hear it. What opinion do you hate? But if you are of the opinion that The Last Jedi is the worst movie in the world and nothing will ever change your mind, I don't know if we'll be able to have a civil conversation.
Yeah.
And for the record, if you haven't heard my opinion at the beginning, I'm not a huge fan of it. I just don't hate it. I don't foam like I got rabies about it, because I'm not saying you do either.
I'm a fan. Swole yogurt. So go ahead and let's hear it. Let's hear it.
You know, I just, if I don't like the movie, I just don't watch it again. You know what I mean? If I'm pissed off at the way Luke's portrayed, guess what? Return of the Jedi still exists. You know, I'm going to go watch that and enjoy Luke being a badass, because that's my favorite movie in the world. You know, if I didn't like, you know, I haven't watched The Last Jedi a ton. I've probably only seen it from start to end like 4 or 5 times. Whereas Return of the Jedi is probably in the, you know, the low, like 200, 300.
Yeah, and the Swole Yoda, there's no such thing as a bad opinion. It's just different.
Yeah,
so
it's
let
different.
me hear what you think is a good one. Let's have it. I'm an open-minded guy. Let's hear it. Tell me why you didn't love it. The Last Jedi movie, not a Star Wars movie.
Oh, that didn't go the way I thought it was going to go.
Sense. If I rewatch it, I watch the beginning and the end. Yeah, so kind of in the same respects that we talked about earlier, about that idea of the slow chase scene, letting it kind of take over your view of that movie. And that's fair. I mean, they definitely could have done something different to move the story along. But as Tyler mentioned, Swole Yoda, I'm not sure if you are a Battlestar Galactica watcher at all, but they literally wrote 5 seasons based on a slow moving ship and did it really well. But no, I see your point. I see that it definitely could have done something different. So I guess
this is something
what would you like to see as the vehicle to move the story along?
Yeah. If Swole Yoda wasn't on the beginning, this is something we actually mentioned, because we said casual viewers probably love The Last Jedi, where diehard fans probably don't like it.
Yeah.
And specifically for that movie, it's probably, if you don't care about Luke's past and all these lore type of things, you probably really enjoy the movie. But if you're a big Star Wars fan and like you have a ton of expectations in your head, you thought it should have went, you know, X, Y, and Z, but it went A, B, and C instead, you're probably pissed off or disappointed. And that's where, you know, you fall in the, you know, the former camp, and I'm kind of more in the latter. Like, there's parts of it I enjoy, like the space battle beginning, really enjoy. I said I love, and like, basically I like the parts that Swole Yoda says. I like the space battle at the beginning, and I like the battle crate minus the Rogue Tico save. You know, the throne room's pretty, like, I do like the throne room scene, but
so good.
But yeah, that middle chunk
such a good job.
That middle chunk of Chase and Canto Bite, like, I just wish they did something. I felt like they wasted a lot of time on that when they could have did something completely different.
Yeah, but if you look at Canto Bite again from the idea that good and evil do not exist completely separately, I loved it for the story.
Yeah.
Loved it. Because if Canto Bite taught us anything, is that there's no clear line. And I think that is an overarching theme in the sequel trilogy, is that the balance between good and evil isn't two people that exist in complete opposites. It's the struggle between good and evil that can exist in one situation, that can exist in one person. You know, Rey has visions of herself as her evil self with that super badass staff lightsaber. It's illustrated in The Last Jedi as people who make ships for both the First Order, the Final Order, and the Rebellion. And I think that that's something, and I hope I don't get blasted for saying this, but I think that's something that a lot of die-hard Star Wars people missed. Was there is a very large overarching message here that there is not a clear divide between the two. And when you look at certain pieces of the three movies that you may not like as a diehard Star Wars person, if you look at it through that lens, there's some very cool messages delivered. And Canto Bight is a great example.
You know what? And you kind of alluded to this a little bit at the beginning, again, when you said how it was one person's, you know, obviously written, directed it. There was no rumored drama behind the scenes. Like, it was probably the most drama-free movie. You know, regardless of what you think about the movie, I kind of got to hand it to Rian Johnson to actually making his vision of Star Wars. And obviously we don't know exactly behind the scenes, but it feels like he got to make his movie. Like, a lot of Star Wars directors get, you know, to be honest, fired and whine behind the scenes and because they can't collaborate because them and Disney just can't get on board. But for whatever reason, Ryan was able to write a story from day one and do his movie. So regardless of whether you hate it, it was nice to see, you know, if anything, he got to carry out his vision without kind of being puppeteered throughout the whole thing.
I would have one question for Rian Johnson, and it's probably not even that big of a deal. How would you have changed the story as it pertained to Finn and Rose?
I don't think he would, man. That's that interview. He says
no.
Looks
I meant
back
in
proud.
the third movie.
Oh, the third
if
movie.
He got to write the third movie, because that was a story. As much as I agree, the little teacup racer things was kind of weird. Yeah. There was something very interesting there, and if I have one gripe, it's that story was not really alluded to. It wasn't really expanded on. Like, there was whispers of Poe and Finn.
They wanted to ship
whispers of
Poe
Rose and Finn. Like,
and then
I wanted to see even Rey and Finn. That. Yeah.
Yeah, they just, like I said, they handled it brutal, like terrible.
But you can tell the difference.
The connection between all the movies,
Johnson,
terrible. Yeah.
You can tell the difference between Rian Johnson, start to finish, one guy. And then the last movie, we've got 17 different fingers in the pot. Like,
yeah, just not.
My one gripe about the trilogy would be, hand it to one person, have them tell the story. If you don't like it, cool, do it again, just like everyone else does in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But give that trilogy to one person and let them make it.
So as I was rewatching it, there's a couple lines that I kind of was amused at and maybe never thought about when I originally went through it. There's the part where Snoke yells at Kylo and says, you know, you're bested by a girl who's never held a lightsaber before, which I thought was cool because lots of people thought in The Force Awakens, how does Rey pick up a lightsaber and beat someone who's literally been training with Luke and the Knights of Ren and Snoke and like best them? And like, you know, they want to blame it because Chewie shot him and he's bleeding, but still, Kylo should have owned her. So it's funny. I found it funny that Snoke chirps Kylo in this movie about that. And then the other funny one I saw that I'm surprised no one's made an edit of or like a funny joke around. Maybe I just missed it, but when Rey shoots the hole in the little hut there, she's walking up behind Luke and says, I don't think they like me. And Luke turns around and says, I can't imagine why. And I thought that was, when I saw that, it was almost tongue-in-cheek, like, I don't think the fans like me very much. And then Luke saying, I can't imagine why. I don't know. I just thought, when I watched it again, I just thought that was amusing to myself. All right. So I think we've said everything we want to about the actual movie. So let's maybe turn our eyes towards Ryan a little bit. Actually, you know what? You want to rate this movie? Give me a number. What's your number on Last Jedi?
8-1. 8-1 because I loved it cinematically. I unfortunately will never be able to get over the one thing that I will always struggle with is the idea that Luke Skywalker raised a lightsaber to the child of his sister and his best friend. If that had played out different, this would be an 8-4, 8-5 movie for me, because the parts you don't love, like the Admiral's move at the end, which I think is a piece of fucking cinematic excellence. The Battle of Crate, the throne room battle, like those three in general are incredible.
Yeah, I'm at a before we move on to this awesome question.
Yeah, that's a fucking great question.
I'm probably at a 7 for The Last Jedi. I think, again, that reflects there was a lot of highs there, and it wanted to be a great movie, but there's enough lows that brings it down. So again, 7 for me. It's probably sitting, it's probably at the top of the bottom third of all Star Wars movies. Maybe closer. Maybe it's in the middle third, bottom of the middle third for me.
Look, I will take this over anything Jar Jar Binks, regardless.
Yeah, I like Jar Jar. Okay, let's.
All right, so SWGOH, great question. Whose trilogy would be better if they got to do all three movies, Rian Johnson or J.J. Abrams? So I'm going to jump on this one first.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm a huge J.J. Abrams fan. I love what he has done with the new Star Trek movies. They are absolutely incredible. I know Justin Lin did the third one, Fast and Furious. I'm gonna say Rian Johnson. I'm gonna say Rian Johnson. If you look at the other properties he's part of,
I wanted you to say JJ really badly.
Well, I am a big JJ fan, but you look at the complex projects that Ryan's been a part of, like the Knives Outs of the world. Like, I want that guy to tell a story. If that guy had all three movies to do the characters the way he wanted to, I think that although there would still be a divide in Star Wars fans, those that were pro would be very pro, and I would probably be one of them. Were you going to say Ryan as well?
Yeah. I think it's funny because I think JJ is the more acclaimed filmmaker, right?
100%.
But for me, I think, again, I don't want to sound like a Ryan apologist by any means, but again, I have said The Last Jedi is my favorite of the sequel trilogy. I feel like the parts that people hate about Rian Johnson's movie tend to be around Luke Skywalker. Just look at the movie. Look at the story and where it was when he was given it. JJ kept Luke out of the whole fucking movie until the last 30 seconds. And he's on an island. They needed this friggin' insane map just to find him. And he's nowhere to be found. So how is Ryan going to write a story around what Luke has been doing that makes sense? So,
how could you possibly make Luke this superhero after they just found him hiding on an island?
Yeah, all by himself. So I feel like part of the thing that people hate Ryan for was a setup by JJ. So if I had to choose, to get back to the question, to do all three movies start to finish, I'm probably Rian Johnson, actually. And I feel like you and me, if people watch this later, they might find that controversial, but it is what it is.
And what about you, SWGOH? What about you?
Yeah.
If you were going to pick one or the other, I know you're typing, so you can give a very brief description of why. But would you pick Johnson or Abrams? And just one or two words as to why. Is it action related, character related, story related? Do you think it would be preserving the heritage of Star Wars better? What would be the reason that you would pick one of the two? Oh, speaking of Canto Bight, there's the other Mark Hamill character.
Other Mark Hamill character?
Yeah, he also played the voice of the little gremlin thing on Canto Bight.
Oh. This is the scene where JT makes his 3-second Star Wars debut.
JT?
Justin, I can never pronounce his last name. Terrell?
Justin Timberlake?
No, he's the main star of The Leftovers.
One
of the best TV shows ever made. Ever.
Well then.
Ever. SWGOH fell asleep at the wheel. Okay, so Ryan has come
Well,
out, defended his
yeah, well, there's
movies, and you know what? Like, what else is he going to say? You know, really fucked that one up.
yeah.
Like, what a terrible job I did.
Nope.
He's never going to say that.
Nope. And he came on and he was talking those articles you sent me. Maybe you can post them somewhere so people can watch them. Maybe in the YouTube link. Talking about how proud he was, and I think that's fair because he got to do it his way. Every other property had so many other people in it that you can't say this was my movie. JJ didn't get to do it. No one got to do it. But what I love about it is that he got to do it. Even if you look at the breakdown for things like Mandalorian episodes, each director gets an episode. They do it the way they want to do it. I think it's very cool.
All right, here we go. Here we go.
JJ was the best of the sequel films. It's hard because I don't know what he would have done with the storylines. So just going with Abrams because Force Awakens is a great movie. And for the record, SWGOH, I agree with you. I know Tyler talked about how disappointed he was. I loved
Force Awakens. I did not like.
I loved the Force Awakens. I loved the callback to Han Solo. Even the dialogue of like, oh, the hero. No, you mean the smuggler. I loved his banter with Conja Club and like, you know, Holland Rathtards and his comments of, you know, just tell him Han Solo just took the Millennium Falcon back for good. I love the opening scenes with Rey and kind of her beginning of the character.
Yeah, and you know what, another good point about this, if Abrams did get to make the whole trilogy, we probably don't see Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker because Ryan doesn't kill him. I mean, doesn't kill Snoke, right? So and that's the problem. It's a Disney Lucasfilm leadership planning, project management, whatever you want to call it. They dropped the ball by not, you know, outlining the story from start to finish. There was no, hey, Rian Johnson, you're coming in to do movie 2. Guess what? You know, Snoke is supposed to be the big bad in episode 9. Direction. Can't kill him. You know what I mean? But, like that was never there. So that's why the sequel trilogy as a whole, they don't fit together. And that's why I really don't like it because there's no connectivity. Yeah. Each individual movie has their highs, but it just sucks as a connected story because it's basically two men trying to shit on each other.
Yeah. And for the record, SWGOH, I realize this is going to make no sense, but The Force Awakens had the best vibe of all three. I loved the way the story was told in The Force Awakens. It just, again, it had that Chris Pine Star Trek.
It was like an upbeat adventure kind of movie. Like I get that.
It had a vibe. The third one was very confusing because they were trying to wrap up 3,800 storylines from multiple directors and writers. But yeah, JJ's Force Awakens had such a great vibe to it. Yeah.
So again, the big question is, Ryan still says he's in contact with Kathleen.
Yeah.
And as
they
much
have cocktails and make out with each other.
Yeah. And as much as, you know, it's been reported that his trilogy is pretty much canceled.
This is the next trilogy, right? That he's supposed to do all 3 for?
Well, not necessarily. I don't know. We know the timeline, but they've given him
3 movies.
A trilogy. He gets to do 3 movies in his own sandbox.
Yeah.
So the question is you and me, I told you this earlier, we actually filmed a video on this like a year ago, actually. And I think it's in the vault somewhere. It never, ever got released. So, would you want to see, let me rephrase this. Given that you could probably go out there and get a few different directors to actually do a movie, would you actually dedicate 3 new movies just to Ryan? That's kind of a different way to phrase it.
I was about to say yes until you changed it. If I was Disney, would I give Rian Johnson 3 movies? At this point, no. If you asked me 4 years ago, I would say yes. I think that The Mandalorian and the new Star Wars properties with Filoni, Favreau, and the list, I can't even begin to describe the list of directors they have working on this. I mean, there are 2 or 3 directors that I would happily give a trilogy to. First and foremost, for a brand new trilogy story, I'm giving it to Taika Waititi. I am biased. I get it. I love his dumb humor. I love the shit he does in Thor. I'm giving that guy 3 Star Wars movies to paint a new story because I love what he does with characters. I love how he tells stories. Howard, I would give her number 2 crack at it. She does such an incredible job with the stuff that she does on that show. So no, my short answer is I would not at this point give Rian Johnson all 3. It would go to one of the directors of stuff from The Mandalorian. What about yourself?
Yeah, so if they announce Rian Johnson's doing 3 new movies and it's a brand new timeline, brand new characters, I won't be mad. I think.
Okay.
Right,
is that who you would pick to do the next 3?
No. So.
Oh, I think SWGOH is saying bye.
Yeah, say bye.
Cheers, man.
So if they announce they're giving him 3, I'd be fine with it as long as he's not playing with. I think keep him away from established characters. I think he could do good with a unique, brand new story somewhere. But saying that, I actually put out a video or short not too long ago about my top 5 picks for movie directors. Because let's be honest, Star Wars movie directors are a flaming dumpster fire right now.
Yep.
Well, on my one hand, there's probably more directors who've been fired or got sat on the bench for reshoots than ones that have actually directed interfered with.
Yeah.
So my very first calls, and the answers to these are probably going to be no, but I'm calling Christopher Nolan and I'm calling Denis Villeneuve and throwing them the keys. I'm saying, guess what?
Christopher Nolan.
I'm saying, guess what? That Lucasfilm story group and all that stuff that people complain about, they're not going to impede you at all. They're just going to tell you yes or no on Star Wars facts. You know what I mean? Give them the keys, make your thing. I know the answer is no, but I know Chris Nolan is a big Star Wars fan. He has spoken about, part of the reason why he's a director is because of Star Wars and George Lucas. Right? So he loves it. Would he ever touch it?
No.
Yeah. And then Denis Villeneuve, he has said that Empire Strikes Back is one of his favorite movies of all time, has also influenced him.
I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart. Denis Villeneuve.
Dune?
Blade
Runner.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
Arrival. Okay. Both can handle great
I did love the new Dune. You're not wrong.
Yeah. So none of them are going to say yes, but I would try my hardest to get one of those dudes because I would just love to see what they can do.
Yeah.
But more realistically, I think you're spot on. It's there are some people who have been cutting their teeth in this organization on the small screen who have gotten better and better. And I love nothing more than seeing someone earn a promotion and be given an opportunity. So if I had to rank them in order, number 3 would be Peyton Reed would be my number 3.
Okay.
And he obviously did the finale of season 2 with the Luke Skywalker,
which was
amazing. And he's done Ant-Man.
Yeah, which is very good. Yeah.
So he's worked for Disney successfly. He's handled big budget big budget films for Disney. He's played nice in The Mandalorian. I think he probably has the chops. And me personally, if Patty steps down from Rogue Squadron, that's who I want to do Rogue Squadron. It's stupid because it's from the second episode of season 2. He films the Ice Spider one, and that's the one where they have the X-wing chase through the clouds and then down through the canyon.
Yeah,
I thought that was a great little sequence of a little ship chase. Okay. And if he handled Luke the way he did and Ant-Man, I think he has the chops for a movie. Okay. Again, my preference would be for maybe, if the Top Gun Maverick director is not available for Rogue Squadron, give Peyton a call. And then
number 2.
Number 2 would be Bryce Dallas Howard. Easy.
She's
so good. Every episode she's done, she's gotten better. And I just feel when you watch it, it feels like Star Wars. I know it kind of sounds dumb to say, but she gets it.
Absolutely.
Just gets it.
Yeah,
and then
it's an absolute intangible.
yeah, and then number one, it's got to be Dave Filoni, man. That guy's been an employee at Lucasfilm for like over 2 decades.
Yeah.
He's like George Lucas's right hand man. There's no one who knows Star Wars more than anyone else, or who has the ideas. But my pause, I guess, would be is he's only directed ever like 2 live action episodes ever. Like he's been purely on the animation side, which is different. So a feature film or even a trilogy might be tough for him. Maybe you get them as the duo, like the John and Dave duo.
Well, that's what I mean. Like I kept Filoni and Favreau out of it because they're always, in my opinion, going to be the spirit and the brain children behind what happens in Star Wars. Like in my opinion, they have the keys.
Yeah.
But I took Favreau and Filoni out of the mix from a director standpoint on mine.
Yeah, and they might be 100% dedicated to television, which is fine if they keep giving us awesome stuff. But I'm just saying, if they ever wanted to reward a dude for his lifetime service, and I don't even know if Dave would even be interested, but if he was, I feel like you got to throw the guy a bone. Maybe it's just a one-off standalone movie, not a trilogy, but yeah, no, I think we're sharing a brain on some of those. All right, so I think that's going to wrap it up. Anything else? I think we barfed out. You know what? I got one other point to make. For as much as a lot of fans have hated on The Last Jedi, and especially a lot of content creators have, they should frame that movie. Get a poster of it, frame it in their office, because it has given people hundreds of hours of content. Absolutely. And still is. Anytime Rian Johnson speaks or someone wants to talk about something controversial, just do a video on The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it has been a massive source of revenue for a lot of people to talk about. And like, I still see threads on Twitter going down the Last Jedi rabbit hole, just yelling with each other. Man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I can't, like, The Last Jedi literally lives rent free in a lot of haters' heads. A lot of kitchens. They just can't stop thinking about it. Yeah. Like I said earlier, man, if there's a movie I don't like, I just choose not to watch it again. But teach their own.
Yep. All right. Well, I think it's football time.
Yep. Let's go finish this game. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
And thanks for joining, Ged. And I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Please comment. If you want us debating other stuff like this more often, let us know. If you hated it, let us know. Yeah, might not change our opinion either way, but
definitely won't.
The comments help the channel. Okay.
Peace out. All right, we'll see you Monday night, and we're gonna set something up for Lord of the Rings.
Oh yes, let's do it.
All right, man.
All right. Out.